Shane says, you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, right. But I mean, but
We're
like,
not.
We're not,
Yeah.
right.
but for example, LinkedIn's a great example. I get blasted like, here, do you know anybody who would like this job? Forward it on to people that you like. I think I'm happy to participate in that, and I'm sure LinkedIn's making some money on that, and I'm fine because I really like the LinkedIn service, and so I'm fine with
That's free,
LinkedIn.
believe it or not.
Well, you should be making money on it, but the point is like,
You want a business model?
no, I'm familiar enough with LinkedIn to know that you guys
Yeah.
have plenty of business models.
We
but
do. We do.
But the point is like, I think when the platforms work, when those are all congruent, when the users feel okay about it, the business model works, and it's legally and ethically okay, that's when you have powerful, billion-dollar business models emerge.
Well, and that's where, to put the LinkedIn hat on, our number one tenet is do no harm to the member. Because without the members, we have nothing. Right? And so if anybody has a bad experience, how do we get there? We get opt-in. Right? And so people invite people, or they hear about LinkedIn, they come in and they join. And they don't read the user agreement, they click yes. Right? This big, long legal agreement that someone wrote in 1-point font that you can't see. Right? And you click OK, now you accept and you become a member. What's unique to LinkedIn is that the community drives the content. We don't drive the content, the community does. So it's the stuff in the back end that you guys are learning about that, okay, Tim came in and he read an article about this, so deliver this to somebody, right? Deliver this to his network because it's going to be relevant because he's read it, and because he's connected to these people, it's relevant to them. And so that's really our sense of community is we want to make, if it's relevant to one, it would be relevant to the others. And to your point of, hey, here we're hiring for X. Do you know anybody? It's the pay it forward mentality. And that's really where it's the difference between a business network and a social network of this environment is, and I talk to folks about this and I talk to college students about this. You have people taking pictures and they go up on the web and you do this in your personal life and you tag somebody else. Did they give you permission to do that at a party doing whatever they were doing and you put it on your Facebook page? Well, who owns that? Right? And what impact does that have to them individually later? That's really where we don't have to worry about that stuff from a LinkedIn perspective so much because we're not involved in the picture sharing and the music and the files and so on and so forth. And so that's our sense of community is by serving up relevant information but also giving you the ability to share, right? Without too many restrictions around, are you sure you want to do that? It's a seatbelt, right? How did the seatbelt come out? Well, people got in accidents, they flew through windshields. Right. So, we should design something that keeps them from doing that.
Right.
And then we should mandate that they have to do that or they get a ticket.
Well, I think at the very beginning, you identified something that, and again, maybe it's a maturation process, but since we're talking about communications and instantaneous real-time communications, if so many of these media sites ultimately should depend on their credibility, their trustworthiness, if there's a fault or if somebody discovers that XYZ web link is whatever, our duty ought to be to spread that story so that particular link becomes anathema, and maybe that convinces other links to do more than they're doing now to protect people. I mean, that's a beginning. The other thing, if I can reel back just a little bit, is that we all feel very strongly about privacy. And from our personal experience as well as our chatter here, we know that we intentionally and unintentionally compromise our privacy all over the place. But one thing I wanted to mention is that an invasion of privacy, everybody talks about it, it's an invasion of privacy, there are lawsuits, there are this and this. The law is at fault in a very large sense because there actually are very, very few states, and the federal government doesn't do this either, except for private employees. There is no constitutionally recognized right of privacy, except in states like California. They tend to be West Coast sort of states where you have that. I think there might be a suggestion of one in Michigan and whatever. So again, if you are an employee or working with or in conjunction with or the victim of a federal, state, or local government, you will have more rights. But as a private citizen, unless you happen to be in certain states, there isn't a constitutionally recognized right of privacy that's been invaded. It really, in most states, is sort of a bundle of court decisions that say, you know, that goes too far. We're not going to let you do that. And that's our fault, or the lawmakers, and the lawmakers, including the judges, that we haven't defined what we're talking about.
One of the, yeah, Harris.
I was just kind of curious what your thoughts on whether or not it's actually possible to protect your privacy in this day and age, whether it's actually theoretically possible to do this, and if so, is that a life worth living?
Tough way to finish the question.
I never have a problem expressing opinions based on sheer ignorance. My gut reaction is no, but I defer to you guys.
Well, I mean, talk a little bit more about what you would think. I mean, what would qualify as a life in private?
Well, I don't know. The way I'm kind of viewing this recent conversation is that. So I think we agree that sharing your information online, giving your information to websites can be potentially harmful to your privacy. So as a result, we kind of tend to give information only to websites that we feel like we could gain something from. But at the same time, isn't this kind of the catch? Isn't this kind of the trick? That people are going to be more willing to give away information if they feel like they have something to gain, like what we saw from the example of giving information away to employers. So what I'm kind of curious about, maybe I'm kind of changing my question, but like if privacy is so important, should we be giving away our information even to the communities that we feel like we could gain something from? Should we maybe try to avoid giving our private information away, period? Is this even possible? If it's possible, can you function in today's society while not doing this? Yeah.
So Tim made, I think, a great point, which is you can go to a party with your friends, photos get taken, those photos get uploaded, you never know about it, you get tagged in a photo. That's kind of like one example, but there's other examples like public records get published. There are other examples like what you do in different forums get published. Like I guarantee you there's discussions that are happening on Twitter that none of us, okayed being published, even though it's still happening. So that those mentions are still occurring.
Somebody just published something.
Right? I can go on Google today and look up someone by name, and within a few minutes, like someone I went to high school with, within a few minutes find out where they live, phone number, who they're married to, a bunch of information that they probably didn't okay being published.
Yeah.
So it's...
And to take that a step further, you want to find out where they live, how much did they pay? How much did they pay for that house? How much did they mortgage versus how much did they put down?
Okay.
Right, so, to the point of his gathering information and pulling it together to make decisions, you didn't choose to have people know how much you paid for your house, right? But it's out there because it's in the county records, right? And so if somebody wants to, the point is we always get nervous about privacy, but not everyone's, things aren't done on purpose to allow that, right? There are people that do it on purpose, and that's their whole nefarious purpose is to gather information so they can do wrong or harm. But most don't. It's just what information is out there that can then be pulled together to pull the picture together. Interesting enough, it's not necessarily a social site, but Ancestry.com. I saw a commercial for that today. And I'm like, interesting that this person all of a sudden, and then they're finding out all this information. Did those people opt into that? To being found in that format? And so, there's so many different ways you can go. Is it a life worth living? I don't know. I talked to a gentleman the other day, and we were talking about the solutions that I sell. He says, you can go to Google and you won't find me, and that's the way I want it. I don't want to be found.